glad I was able to make it here again. This is, I don't know, third, fourth, fifth year, I don't remember. Coming here in either Best of MMS Roadshow or the Hitting Your User Group meeting. So I just spent the last 2 weeks in South Africa for Tech Ed and customer briefings and then other presentations and a couple airlifts, and on my way to Tech Ed Berlin. So I talked to Rob and Cliff about stopping here. Go from here to Brussels, then Amsterdam, then Copenhagen, then finally Berlin, and then finish up in Helsinki before I head on home. So anyway, the guys had asked me to go ahead and do a quick recap of R3. I remember last year I did the R3 presentation, but at that point in time we didn't have any code to show. So it was just purely PowerPoint. So this time I'll be doing a little bit of PowerPoint and then hopefully as much demo as possible to show you what the R3 code looks like. So from our aspect, today the presentations are all about the future of Configuration Manager. And I say the future because most of you probably don't have R3 yet. We just released it just over 2 weeks ago. It hit RTM. And so if you're a software assurance customer, you could have downloaded it already and deployed it, but for the most part, people haven't done so. So I'm going to talk about R3 for the hour before lunch, and then when I'm back on again in the afternoon, have 3 hours, I think it is, and we'll go through the eNext product. And not obviously can't go through all of it in 3 hours, but we'll do an overview and then talk about migration probably to get you guys from where you are today to new product. Maybe. There we go. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of the high-level feature areas of R3. If you've heard anything about it or me last year, we concentrating on power management, which is a big topic. Everybody's pretty excited about it. But there are other areas as well in the product that can really help you out. So we'll do a deep dive into power management, look at some of the reports and through demos. Then we'll talk about the other features of R3, which include not only power management, that's the big ticket item that people think about with the R3 product, but one of my cap customers, and I can't tell you who, but they're a very large airplane manufacturer based in the United States, they didn't care about power management. Their big key for having R3 was Active Directory Delta Discovery. So I'll go into a little bit of detail on what that does for you. Along with Active Directory Delta Discovery, we have something called Dynamic Collection Evaluation or Fast Collection Evaluation that ties in with that. I'll give you a scenario of that coming up. Pre-staged media support for operating system deployment. I'll talk about that. Easier ability to create collections based on desired configuration management, compliance or non-compliance states. And then lastly, the ability to do some right-click tools type things on top of collections to help manage your collection membership better. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into what R3 is. R3 is an add-on to Configuration Manager 2007 Service Pack 2. So if you don't have SP2 in place, you cannot use R3. R3 will not install on an SP1 site, won't install on an RTM site. So it will only work on top of an SP2 site. If you guys are familiar with our R2 add-on, our R2 add-on could only be installed on top of an SP1 site. And the reason for the requirement for R3 on top of SP2 or R2 on top of SP1 was that if you look at the downloads for these, they're very small, like 35 megabytes. And all of the what we call plumbing, all of the code changes were actually implemented in the Service Pack. So in Service Pack 1, we implemented the code changes to support R2. And in Service Pack 2, we implement the code changes to support R3. So when you install R3, all it does is open up some things or expose some things in the admin console which you couldn't see before you installed the R3 product. So there's no upgrade to Configuration Manager 2007 R3. You install it on top of an existing SP2 site. And I'm trying to be clear about that and also beat on it for a little bit because a lot of people keep asking me and everybody else, how do I upgrade to R3? And you don't upgrade to R3. You upgrade to SP2, then you install R3 on top of your site servers. You install R3 on top of your admin consoles, because that's where the functionality is. That's where you use the console. And then it opens up those features, you enable them, and then it takes advantage of it throughout your environment. There's no client upgrade in the R3 environment. With that said, there actually is a hotfix that you have to apply to your site and your clients before you can fully utilize R3. I'll show you that when I get into the first demo. The hotfix is readily available. It's 977384. So you download the hotfix, you install it on your site server. As part of the install, we ask you, do you want us to create a package and program for software distribution to deploy this hotfix to your clients? And if you say yes, we do that, you then dump the package on a DP and advertise it out to your clients, and away you go. It's a very small hotfix. It's on the site server end, the full code is like 6 meg. On the client end, it's under a meg that you deploy out. So you do that. If you're not going to use power management, you don't need the hotfix on your clients. The hotfix is for power management because we go all the way back down to Windows XP Service Pack 3. And if any of you tried to do any power stuff on Windows XP, you know it's not the greatest. So we're trying to add more features there with the old OS. The newer OSs like Windows 7 have much greater power management capabilities, but Windows XP didn't. So anyway, there's hotfix for power. We support Windows XP Service Pack 3 on up. We do not officially support server operating systems with R3 power management. And the reason being, what we look at, as I'll describe throughout the presentation, what we look at for power is activity on the system, which you don't necessarily have the same type of activity on a server-based computer. We're not blocking you from deploying power policies to server-based computers. It can be done, but you have to be very careful because of the fact that your server may have VMs running on it, and just because you don't see anything happening there, you put the system to sleep, then obviously you just lost access to all those VMs. So we don't target this as a server component. We target it as a desktop component, really. And then obviously hardware that supports power management. If your hardware don't support it, we can't make it do it on its own. So, all right, so our scope is client scenarios. One of the things I'll talk about here is that you have to be able to define different policies for different groups of clients. Not every client you have in your enterprise you want to have the exact same power policy on. So you want to be able to define those per collection. You may have some systems you never want to put to sleep because they're systems that people have to RDP into after hours. And RDP, you can't establish a remote desktop session to a sleeping computer. It doesn't wake up. So you may have computers you have to put to sleep. So you have to look at your client scenarios. We're based off the operating system's sleep capabilities. We actually have a report which I'll show you that tells you whether or not your systems are sleep capable. Sleep and hibernate and wake up. Dashboards of current power state. So we'll show you in reports, various different reports. There's 18 reports that come with R3 specific to power management. And I'll walk you through some of those. I won't go through all 18 of them. We do have a wake up for management. What this allows you to do is to be very aggressive in putting your systems to sleep after business hours, let's say 6 p.m., and I put the systems to sleep after 15 minutes of inactivity. Well, traditionally, you guys probably deploy your patches, deploy software after hours. So you either have to keep systems awake, or you might have to use some kind of wake on LAN technology, ours that's built in or third party. What this allows you to do, this capability, is use the wake up timer that's built into the OS to wake up your systems at a designated time without sending any packets across the wire. So no wake on LAN stuff. It's just built into the product. And so the client will wake up, go check the MP, anything I have to do now. Oh, there's some patches I have to deploy that are mandatory. Deploys those patches. We keep the OS busy until we're all done. When we're all done, then the power policy we'll put back to sleep when we're done with our processing. Well, I'll show you how to create power management policies and set them. And then hopefully when you're all done, you report your savings to management and power company. So the 5 cycles that we have, first is you monitor. You got to figure out which systems are capable of being managed by power and which ones aren't. You have to figure out what your usage patterns are of your end users, because you don't want to put systems asleep, obviously, when end users are there using them. So figure out what your usage patterns are. So monitor your power consumption and power usage. Then you plan and create your power policies. Again, you implement them via collections, so you can have different pockets of systems with different power policies on them. Your marketing team might come in at 9 a.m. and work till 5 p.m. Your dev team probably comes in at 11 a.m. and works till 8 p.m. Maybe sales or you guys, IT guys, are in from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And so you create different power policies assigned to collections that give unique peak times as well as maybe a different wake-up timer. So you go ahead and create those. You apply those through our policy engine. So all you do is create the policies for a collection, and we take care of the rest. We implement them through our normal policy. Client checks MP, hey, there's a new policy, implement this. The policy will get changed between peak time and non-peak times. You have different settings for those. Once you've implemented that, it's going to take a while before you start noticing your changes and your savings. And then you go run some reports, and hopefully you've seen that you've reduced power, you've reduced CO2 emissions, and you've reduced your costs in the environment. So that's kind of the step plan for this. So phase one is monitoring. First thing you have to do is you have to enable the power management client agent. Unless you've already installed R3, you've not seen that agent before. It's a brand new one, it's built into SP2, but you don't see it until you install R3. Once you install R3, you'll have a power management client agent, and then you just enable it. Once you enable it, we're off and doing our work now. That's all you have to do is click one checkbox to enable it, and we're doing all the work on our own. It does require hardware inventory. So if any of you have hardware inventory turned off, you either are turning it on for power management or you're not doing power management, because we do collect all that data by a hardware inventory. In fact, if you enable power management client agent and hardware inventory is turned off, we pop up a dialog telling you we're going to turn on hardware inventory, because we do require it. So then what we do is we send down the power management client agent enabling policy to clients through normal policy engine, and we start collecting data. We collect computer on, computer off, monitor on, monitor off. We collect user busy and user idle. And user busy is keystrokes and mouse actions. So we keep track of all that. And we collect that data through WMI. At the end of the day, at midnight, every night, we summarize that data, and the next time you run hardware inventory, we collect that data and report it to the site. So in our CAP program, that's one of the things I do is I work with our CAP customers on our different products. In the TAP for the R3, what we told our customers is you probably want to change your hardware inventory to daily. If you're running it right now, weekly maybe. Change it to daily to start collecting your initial data so you can start planning out your policies, see what your usage patterns are. Then once you've got those usage patterns in place, you figured them out, then you go and change it back to every 3 days or weekly, whatever you want. Because we do collect the data through hardware inventory. And so if you wait a week, then it's a long time before you can see what your usage patterns are of users. Again, different collections, I'll talk about that. And then you do reporting. So, I think I have a demo next. Yep.
Wally?
Yes?
Quick question. You said about hardware support, but your hardware needs to be able to support power management. Is there any particular standards? How do you know?
You would just go to BIOS. Go to BIOS settings, look for power. And we're looking in the like the S3, S4, S5 type stuff. But we have a report I'll show you here in a moment that'll tell you. So I'm just going to show you this. This is an SP2 site. So it's 4.00, which is config band 2007, and then 6487.2000 is Service Pack 2. So it is Service Pack 2. Here is the hotfix. So this is the server-based hotfix. As you can see, it's 6 megabytes in size. Once I create that and install it on my site server, I had it create the package and program, dumped it on my BP. Oops. There it is. So it's just under a meg that goes to the clients. So fairly simple. It does, again, create that hotfix package program. You just deploy it. Here's the power management client agent that becomes available to you. And all you do is you enable it. All you do is you enable it. And you wait for the cleaning to happen. Okay, so you just enable that checkbox. That's all you have to do. One thing to be aware of when you are deploying the hotfix to your clients, so you enable the power management client. Oops, that's not packages. Here is that hotfix. One thing to be aware of when I first tested this out in the initial beta we had, we created a program for you automatically again, it's 977384. Just be aware of the fact that we suppress program notifications. So if you're looking for anything to happen on your clients, any kind of visual indicator, you're not going to see it. Now again, traditionally you're deploying stuff after hours, so no big deal. But I was in my lab environment testing it out, and I'm sitting there waiting, okay, should have retrieved policy by now, something should be happening. And then I went and looked at Task Manager, and it was installing. And I went and looked, oh, okay, we turned off program notifications. So if you're testing it out in your lab environment, what I do is I turn that off so I can see things happening, just to validate and do that scenario. Anyway, so you deploy it, you install the hotfix on your site server, you enable your power management client agent, and then what you have to do is all of our reports that come with R3, They're all based on SQL reporting services. So you have to have a SQL reporting services site system set up in ConfigMgr. So when you install R2 or R3, you get the option for a reporting services point site system role. You can still have your reporting point there, but none of these reports run off the standard reporting point through the web, normal web reports. You have to have SRS integration. So if you don't have it now, start playing around with it. And for vNext, that's the only way you do reporting in vNext is through SRS. So get it going now. Anyway, so this is one of the first reports you run, which is computer capabilities. So which computers can do the sleep and hibernate, wake and sleep and hibernate. In my case, I'm in all VMs. And VMs, it's all masked out by the BIOS, so everything shows up as non-capable. But this would be the first report you'd run to see which systems do I have that are or are not capable of being managed by sleep. So if you can look at this report and start looking at capabilities, once you then want to start looking at your usage patterns, so here is power capability or power computer report, and I ran it for a collection of computers, and I gave it a starting date of 10/6 when I started playing around with this image. And in the chart, you can see I only have a max of 3 computers in here. The legend down at the very bottom, the blue line is your computers on. So you see the computer came on, started coming on from 6 to 7 a.m. Computers came on. The red line is user activity, and the yellow line, which you can't really see in this case because they're all lined up pretty well, is monitor. So blue is computer, yellow is monitor, and the red is user doing stuff. So you start monitoring your process. In the real world, you probably see your blue line, in this case flatlined at 3, your yellow line somewhat matching your users, and then obviously your user activity. So this is for all collections for a period of time. If you give it an end date of something in the future, like I think I stopped like 10/16, then we'll do an average of your power consumption over that period of time so you can see the differences. So over the 11 days, here's what my averages were for power usage, computer, monitor, and then user activity. And based off that, you can see that people never come in before 7 a.m. and people are already gone by 5 p.m. So my peak time or my working hours for all these computers would be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I'd be very non-aggressive in managing power during those hours and be very aggressive from 5 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next day, putting systems to sleep because I can see that nobody's really using them. And even if you are very aggressive, putting systems to sleep, again, we don't put them to sleep if the OS tells us we can't. So again, it's the OS putting things to sleep. It's not going to put a system to sleep when somebody's on there really doing something, even if you got very aggressive. So you can run that. You can run it by a specific computer if you want to. So you can see in this computer what its usage patterns were, the computer, the monitor, and then the user. I think if I go to the next day, yeah, so here you can see the computer never got turned off. And the monitor stayed on constantly, even though the user logged off at 4 p.m. And then just flat line there. So again, I'm wasting power in my environment.
Sorry, Wally, can I just ask a question? That's obviously console usage, yeah?
That's obviously what?
It's console usage, so you can't obviously monitor RDP usage or anything.
No.
So from a user perspective.
Well, it's monitor being enabled. So it's monitor being enabled, and on the computer, desktop, or excuse me, mouse and keyboard activity. So if you're RDP'd in, then yeah, it'll be, you wouldn't see any user activity like that.
So if you RDP'd into the console of a server, would that show up, or would that still not be shown because it's physically not hardware related?
I don't think you would see that because it's not tracking up through hardware as far as mouse and keyboard activity.
Sure.
So your log file would probably say user idle and stay there.
Okay. Just thought it'd be good to have a very quick and easy way of seeing how your servers are being used in terms of logging and log off.
Yeah. Yep. And so then you do your usage patterns, and you want to check and see what your power consumption is. And this is the chart for power consumption by day. It shows you the last 31 days. And obviously you can see I had a long time in here where I was traveling, not doing other stuff, so I didn't boot up my VMs at all. But here when I was doing my work, you can see what my average consumption was on a per day basis as I was using those VMs. And then if I scroll down below, it gives you the actual consumption as opposed to the averages, so the actual consumption for that collection of systems. We have another report that shows you your cost based on that. These values in here for what's your power cost kilowatt per hours for desktop and laptop computers, these are all come from Energy Star. So these are all Energy Star values, so we just take those averages that Energy Star gives us and dictates how much power consumption is for the laptop and desktop with the monitor on versus the computer on and so on. So then you just go ahead and look at these and figure out what your consumption rates are, and we show you on a per hour basis what they are as well down the bottom of this report. So, okay. All right, so I've seen the data from my users, all the reports. Now I have to plan out what my policies are. And in my scenario, it's what, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., something like that. So I plan what my usage patterns are and what policies I want to implement in my environment. In this example, I think I got a couple of screenshots here. 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. users. They have a long lunch break in this environment, 11 to 1. And then they only work another 3.5 hours in the afternoon. Almost everybody's gone by 5 p.m. and nobody does anything over the weekend. So I get very aggressive there. Again, you look for clients that can't support power management. Exclude clients that can't be managed for power. Those that you have to have always running for RDP sessions and so on. Define your policies you want for each facility, which really means collection. So however you have your collection space as far as your breakup of systems, you create power policies for each collection. You designate your peak time, non-peak times. The peak would be 8 a.m. to 4:30 in this environment would be my peak times. You can use the built-in power policies, or you can customize, create custom power policies. So it's an old report that's got a little bit different icons here, but systems that are capable and non-capable. You would think they're running like Windows Server 2008, that they'd probably be hardware capable. So this may be one you just have to go in the BIOS and enable sleep states and wake up from sleep and then. But you can see that. And then this is an example report. This one there's averaging right around 30 computers always on, and the yellow get monitor activity, and then the user activity, not a whole lot happening on there. It's a lot of time that we're wasting power and generating CO2 footprint. That would just, I guess it would drop off there between 12 and, drop off between 12 and 2 for lunchtime. Energy Star data, so again, this is just showing you that for monitors and laptops versus desktops, what your Energy Star rates are. And I don't know if they're different here in the UK, but in the US, what the rates are for Energy Star versus standard systems, and what your power consumption is in sleep mode for laptops and desktops. And especially in a desktop or laptop scenario, it's only 1 kilowatt per hour. So there's a very negligible difference between sleeping and actually turning off the system. So you're not saving a whole lot of power by physically powering off the box. And if you do, obviously, then you can't do any management of it. So. Okay, so once you've got your usage patterns, then you go and you create the policies you want. So you go to each collection that you want to implement policies on, right-click, go to Manage Collection Settings. We have a new tab there, Power Management, and then turn it on for that collection, or specifically state to exclude, and I'll show you that. Set your peak hours, and then define your power policy that you want to use, high performance, power saver, or balanced, or create a custom one. And I'll show you what those look like. And then designate if you want to wake up clients on a per collection basis. The wake up clients is only on desktops. We don't wake up laptops because we want to make sure that we don't wake up a laptop that's sleeping in a bag, which should not be a good thing. So it is only desktop enabled. Okay, so go to collections. We do have a new column. So I don't know why we're hourglassing here, but he should be, there we go, go to collections. And we do have a new attribute you can enable on your collection display, power configurations, just like maintenance windows and collection variables and so on. And you can see I don't have any in place right now. So if I wanted to go to my All Windows XP Systems collection, manage or modify collection settings, new tab, power management, by default it's not specified. If I want to exclude the clients in this collection from ever having power implemented through ConfigMgr, I select that option and click OK. And this would override any other settings from any other collections this computer might be a member of. The exclude always overrides any other, so because you know computers can be in multiple different collections. If I want to define power, then I go ahead and say yes, specify what my peak times are, so my working hours. And then my power options are balanced, high performance, or power saver. I go ahead and select whatever plan I want for peak and non-peak. I go ahead and hit view, and it shows me I get 16 different attributes we're monitoring. You can't change these for a built-in plan. So our built-in plans, they're there. You can't clear any of these checkboxes. I can't change any values. So basically it's read-only, that's why that button said view. So I can go see what my settings are. And we don't give you any other capabilities other than these 16 values here. We talk to our CAP customers to figure out what are the highest priority options for you. Instead of giving you all 60 or whatever it is that the OS has, what are the highest priority ones you want to have exposed for power management. If you want to have customization, you go to the Customize plan, and now your button says Edit, and now I can go ahead and turn off, and I can go ahead and change values however I want to for all those individual attributes. Oops, turned it off, so I can't change the value. So do a customized peak or non-peak plan. It will get saved. When we then implement this policy on your client, if you go to Control Panel, Power Options, it'll say Customized Non-Peak Config Manager. Instead of saying Balance or Power Saver or High Performance. It'll tell you directly that that power policy came from Config Manager. So go ahead and design the policy you want. Specify whether or not you want your desktop computers to wake up. So go ahead and specify, yes, I do want to wake up in lieu of wake on LAN packets, and wake up at 3 a.m. or whatever's appropriate time for the computer's collection, so they can wake up and check the management point, policies, implement anything that's necessary. And then they'll go back to sleep according to your, theoretically, your non-peak plan and what its configuration is.
Excuse me, Wally.
Yes?
You mentioned that you don't turn on laptops.
Correct.
Because they might be in the confined space and that's a risk. For laptops are becoming more common and left on the desk in a docking station. Is there any way to protect laptops that are in a desktop sort of state?
Right, so on AC as opposed to on battery. We were at one point in time going to do that, and I think we took that away and just said if it's a laptop, we totally don't do wake up on it in the R3 product. In the vNext product, we are going to do that. So in the vNext, by the way, all the stuff in R3, it's going to be in vNext. We actually had initially designed it all for vNext, and we saw the timing of vNext. Okay, let's go ahead and get some value out there for you guys now to help reduce costs and save some money, so we created the R3 product. So if you've been playing around with the beta 1 version of vNext, power's not in there, it's a beta 2 feature. So when beta 2 rolls around, you'll see the same capabilities here, plus we'll be adding some additional capabilities that our CAP customers asked for in the R3, and our time frame and our scope is just much more limited in R3 than it will be in vNext. So my understanding is we're supposed to be implementing that scenario in the R3 in the vNext product for laptops as a replacement for desktops. So if they're on AC, then go ahead and implement the wake-up timer, but if they're on battery, then go ahead and don't implement it. Okay, click OK to implement the policy. Now if I do a refresh, it should change that to a yes for power configuration. So you go ahead and implement your power policies. Now that's a policy. Next time my client's in that collection wake up, check MP. Oh, I got to implement power policy, and it's going to go ahead and retrieve that policy and implement locally. One thing you need to be aware of is that if you're implementing power settings through group policy, just like software updates, we can't overwrite the software update settings through group policy. You have to disable it. Same thing with power. So if you are managing power settings right now through group policy, you have to disable the group policy implementation of power settings and let us do that pushing of the policy down. And here's just a sample, a bunch of reports that they have. So this is power usage, and it's just looking at on a monthly basis and how much power was used on a monthly basis. Power cost, I'll show you the power cost, but you're allowed to specify, unfortunately all our reports are in US dollars, so you can implement your power cost, kilowatt hour, and you can implement that setting, and then we'll figure out how much money you spent on your power. CO2, and these reports are a little bit deceiving, the CO2 reports. You just have to, whenever you see one of the environmental impact reports, it's CO, that's supposed to be a 2, looks like a question mark, but it's CO2 saved. So you save more CO2, so your bars get higher by putting your systems to sleep. So they're not on as much, you're not generating as much CO2, so you are saving more. So you want higher bars for green, and red bars, you want lower bars on the power consumption and power costs. So that's confused a number of people when they saw those reports. Another one, Okay, let me just jump over and go back to reports here real quick.
Well, on the report side, they're not dependent on SSRS 2008 or anything?
No, they're not dependent on a specific version of SRS. So 2005 SRS, whatever you have integrated with ConfigMan 2007 R3 or R2 today. So these are the 18 reports. Again, you cannot run them from the standard reporting engine. You have to run them through SRS integration. So power cost. So here's power cost per day. I select my collection. This will show you the last 31 days and implement my cost in kilowatt hours. Some of our top customers ask for different power rates for daytime, peak time versus non-peak time after hours, also different rates for weekends. And we don't have that capability in the R3 product. We're looking at that for VNext to give you a variable scale, sliding scale, or different timings on your reports. You just have to run different reports and different times on them, again, based on these values. If you don't like these, if your guys' Energy Star compliance numbers are different than these are all parameters in the SRS report, so you can go in there, modify the parameters, and then run your report locally. So the average cost per day, and then your total cost per day. Again, you want lower red bars, because of how much money it's costing you. And then if you want to go back and look at environmental impact, again, you go look at the start date of 10, and date of, oh yeah, happy November 1st. I totally forgot it was November already. Oops. Oh, 2009. Probably don't want to do 2009. Wasn't paying attention. Oops. I didn't have anything for November, so let's take this November. There we go. That should be better. And there's my monthly, how much of CO2 I saved in tons over that month on average and total. I personally like the by day one, so it shows me a value again for the last 31 days. And again, you're at the higher green bars for CO2 saved. And you can see where I was doing activity on the left-hand side, then on the right-hand side, my VMs weren't up and running at all. And then again, always the chart down at the bottom for the actual daily consumption. And some of the other reports we have in here, power insomnia. So power insomnia is computers should have gone to sleep, but they can't go to sleep. And you don't have any sleeping tools for them. So you need to generate a report to figure out which computer should have gone to sleep and why they didn't. So you can look at an overall as well as an individual computer. Power settings, that allows you to go ahead and look at your settings that you have implemented on a per collection basis and what's my shut-off time on AC versus on battery and so on. And then details, I want to say, hey, what's this value on a specific collection without seeing all of them. So anyway, these are the 18 different reports that we have. So hopefully, once you've implemented Power, that you would then go and run these reports, excuse me, and what you would find is that your power consumption has gone down, your power costs have gone down, your CO2 saved has gone up, and then you show that to management and y'all get raises for helping out the company's bottom line. I don't know if it's happening in place else internationally, but I got something caught in my throat, which is strange because I haven't been eating anything. But in the States, some of our power companies are actually giving companies rebates on power consumption by reducing it. So they're giving Microsoft now rebates on power by just running our reports and showing what we were doing before, what we were consuming, what we are consuming now, and giving us rebates on that. So we'll work with more power companies on trying to get those rebates cruising for other people. So. Okay, so that's power management. I got about 20 minutes before I do the other stuff, so other additional questions on power. So again, you have to have that hotfix supply to your clients to do power. Officially, we don't support them on servers, but there's nothing preventing you from doing power on servers. Officially, we just say it's client operating systems. But again, I'm running in a virtual environment, so you can do that. You can see reports on who's not capable, what your usage patterns are, what your consumption and your costs are, and then you implement power policies, different collections. If a computer's in multiple collections and they have different power settings for how aggressive things are turned off and when you go to sleep and so on, what we do in those when there's conflicts is we take the setting that is least intrusive to the user. So if one collection says, put the system to sleep after 10 minutes, and the other collection says, put the system to sleep after 15 minutes, we're going to take the 15 minutes, the one that will leave the system running longer for the end user. If I have different wake-up times on the two collections, we only wake up once per night per system. We take the wake-up timer that's closest to midnight. And that's the one we're going to implement, if in multiple collections and multiple different settings on them.
Wally,
Yes?
if you've got a thing to wake machines up every day at 3 o'clock, I presume that means all machines will wake up at 3 o'clock every day, no matter what. Is that right?
If you
Even
apply
if
that
there's no policy
to all systems in that collection, yes.
Right.
Yeah, there's no randomization, there's no offsets at all in there. How you would control that is have multiple collections with different policies with different wake-up times. Right, correct.
Wally,
Yes.
is there a recommended monitoring time before you implement policies?
Yeah, what we told our TAP customers is our power management, we expect to be a 4-week cycle. So you turn on the agent, give us 2 weeks to monitor, see what your usage patterns are, implement a policy, and then give it another 2 weeks to see the before and after change. So we were telling our TAPs in our testing that look at a 4-week cycle.
Is there a huge increase to the MIF file size that's going to be sent up from the client to the database?
It's delta, so it's going to be a delta, so no. Obviously, it depends on how much activity you have, and if you just turn on, stay busy all day on, turn off, that's a total of 6 events. Turn on computer, turn on monitor, turn on user, or user busy, and then same thing. So you have 2 events, one for on, one for off, or idle and busy. So the more time users are active, and then the more breaks they take for inactivity, the more user idle and user busy events you're going to have. So the more data you're going to have as far as individual events, and so the larger it is. But I've not seen any numbers as far as how big the MIF files get going across the wire. I've never heard anybody being concerned about it.
That's because I just used the third-party product, which used to monitor every system log, and then our MIF files got to about 19 meg per client.
How much?
19.
19? I'd be surprised if ours were that big. I'd never even do the TAP program. I never heard anybody ask, or I never heard any values from anybody on it. Just remember that we do summarize the data at midnight, and there's no way for you to force summarization. So if you're testing in a lab environment, you have to wait until midnight. Your data gets summarized, and the next hardware inventory cycle after that, it gets reported into the site and then added into your database. And I've seen no data on how much your database size increases per client either with enabling those.
Wally,
Can group policy, obviously you can't, power settings, users can't override it. So if you're using ConfigMgr policy, can users override that, or is that also locked down?
No. Well, if a user, yes and no is the answer. So if a user does go to control panel and goes to power options, they would see in here, ConfigMgr if it was ours or whatever. But what would happen if they went in here and changed it, if they had the capability of doing so, we will let them change it. However, at our next time we have to switch between peak and non-peak time, we have to implement a different policy, we're going to reset it back. So at our policy time change, which is not on an hourly basis when you check the MP, but when you go from 9 to 5, it's 5 p.m., I go from the peak plan to the non-peak plan, we're going to implement it. At 9 a.m., when I go from the non-peak plan to the peak plan, we're going to implement our settings. So if they change in between those, fine, if they have this capability, so we're going to reset it at our
like
scheduled
by
time.
hand coming in and changing the power settings each time.
Correct. Okay.
yeah, the hotfix, because I work with international clients, wasn't available for ICP 1 or 2.
Correct.
So
So the good question. Hotfix. R3 is localized. ICP1 should be out now. It was supposed to be out in October, and now we're November 1st, so it should be out. I haven't seen an email that said it was out, but I checked on that for one of the MVPs, and I was told by the sustained engineering manager, you might know Mike Puritan, and he said it would be out before the end of the month, and ICP2 is in November. So by the end of this month, you should have ICP2 capabilities as well. Okay, let's, now we're down to 15 minutes. So I'm the only thing between you guys and lunch, so the more questions you ask, the shorter lunch break you get. So, ask your questions. Some additional things outside of in R3, outside of the power management. And again, that's the sexy thing that everybody thinks about. But again, like I said, one of my TAP customers didn't care about power. They wanted the Active Directory Delta Discovery. And I'll give you more details on this in the next coming slides, but the ability to have more frequent, less impact discovery of resources from Active Directory than you have today. So much faster and much more efficient. Along with that, dynamic collection updates. Getting new resources into collections much more quickly so that they can become clients and become available, put in appropriate collections more quickly. Then we go to pre-stage media. So the ability of you giving your OEM manufacturer your media, which would include your boot image and your OS image, having them prepare the hard drive, dump that on the hard drive for you, so you get your laptop back from, in my case, Dell, and the OS is installed. You plug it in your system, run the task sequence, and it customizes. It joins your domain and do whatever else you have to do on your corporate wire. But the hard stuff of preparing the hard drive and getting the image down has already been taken care of. And then enhanced collection management, right-click actions to add systems to collection or remove systems from collections through direct membership rules. And the other thing that's not on here, we don't have a slide, is the easier ability of creating collections out of non-compliance state for desired configuration management. You could always do it in the past, but we didn't document how to do so. So now we have documentation on how to go find the appropriate non-compliant state information and create collections out of it. So now I can go ahead and remediate those. Because all we do is we tell you, hey, your systems are non-compliant because its registry value is not set correctly. Well, now you can have a regedit command that's in a package and advertise that to those systems that are non-compliant much more easily. Okay, Active Directory Delta Discovery. So the scenario is that a lot of times people they get a brand new employee, and the brand new employee gets a brand new computer, and that computer gets added to AD. And they have to get that computer installed as a config client, and then get it in the appropriate collections. They get their software, their advertisements for that client, and they get it to the point where that end user can really utilize that system. So what some people do, and I've had some customers do this, they drop their full Active Directory Active Directory Discovery to every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes they're running an Active Directory Discovery method. And that's really bad. That's really bad because every 10 minutes you're going to AD, you're finding every single system you have in AD and creating a brand new DDR for it, creating those DDRs, shipping them across the wire over to your site server, or creating from the site server, and processing them on your site server, forwarding them up to your parent site, processing them there, forwarding them up to your central site, processing there, and doing that every 10 minutes. And you may find, every 10 minutes you might find a new box, if that frequently. So it's really heavy on the network, it's really heavy on your domain controller, really heavy on your site servers. So now what we do is we give you Delta Discovery. What Delta Discovery does, if you enable it, every 5 minutes by default, it goes to your domain controller and says any new records that I haven't already seen. So records with what we call a USN change record on it. If there's any brand new computers or users or groups that have a USN change record on them, we go ahead and create a DDR for them. So we're not recreating all the stuff that we've seen before, only brand new stuff. So much fewer records, maybe 100,000 of the number of records being created, so much less impact on your domain controller, wire, and then obviously your site server. One of my MVPs just said that their user discovery prior to Delta Discovery was taking them 4 hours to run. And now it's down to 15 seconds to run. And that's just the creating the DDRs. It's not the processing time after having those X number of hundreds of thousands of DDRs created before in those 4 hours. So great savings. You would still do your periodic full scan to rediscover everything. Because you have those tasks that would delete aged systems, so you want to make sure systems stay rediscovered. So you still have that run maybe on a weekly basis now. And on demand, you can go ahead and initiate a full discovery anytime you want. So how you would implement this would be go to your client agents, or it should be a discovery method, I'm thinking power management. Discovery methods, go to Active Directory System Discovery, for example, go to your polling schedule tab, and then click Enable Delta. That's all you have to do is click the checkbox, set how frequently you want to go. It can't go less than 5 minutes, but you can set it to whatever you want. That's all you do. If you what we actually do at Microsoft now is when we enable that, is we change our full schedule from daily, or in some people's case, 10 minutes, we go weekly now. So we're going weekly on our full cycles, and then doing the deltas every 5 minutes. If you want to initiate one, you can always select this checkbox and initiate on demand, a full cycle. But much less intrusive on the environment.
Wally,
Yes?
what's the lowest? Can you go down to a minute on that?
No, 5. 5 is the minimum.
Okay. And is there any plans to do any kind of push for maybe a connector in directly to Active Directory for the DVR push?
A DDR push.
So not relying on SCCM to go out into discovery, more on when there is a USN change, pushing a DVR.
Oh, we are changing this technology in vNext.
Okay.
So we are redesigning it so it can be more. What the issue with this right now is that if you add a system to a group, we can't detect that. We can detect new groups or new systems. We can't detect a brand new or new computer being added to an existing group. We're changing that in vNext to allow the change of that. But I've not heard of the let Active Directory tell us when force the DDR down to us. I've not heard that happening in vNext.
So can I just ask then, if that's the case regarding system group discovery, what does that option of turning on the Delta discovery for AD system group discovery do then?
Just let you know when there's new groups been created.
Okay.
But yeah, for group membership, you may still have to have a quarterly cycle. But for new systems and new users, you may not have to. Okay, so along with that, then what we do is we tie in with what we used to call fast collection updates. So with this scenario is right now, for those customers that had to have those systems installed right away, they would do their discovery every 10 minutes. They would also crank down their collection intervals to maybe hourly. So they discover new systems every 10 minutes, get them in our database, then every hour, every collection would update and say, hey, any new systems in my collection? And so they would then, clients would pull policies, and or first become a client through an automated push, and then get the policies from appropriate collections. So now what we have is a new setting, dynamically add new resources. What this will do is, when you create this Delta record, we have a special table in our database. We look at that special table. These collections that are enabled, every 5 minutes they wake up and check that special table. Hey, anything that would belong to me. Oh, there's an XP box. And go and add that record to their database, or in their collection, within 5 minutes. And it's not a full collection evaluation. She's looking at those special table, anything that belongs to me. So adding it directly in, not doing a full cycle, not removing systems that don't belong in your collection anymore. That's a normal schedule. You're just taking from that temporary table, a custom table, into this environment.
So a new client that has not been discovered through this method, just heartbeat discovery first, that would not be updated in this collection.
Hang on to the next slide. Possibly. There are other ways to get there. And so we would think with this, you can then extend out your collection update frequency. Daily works great, but then if you're less than that, you may be able to bump it up. So what you have to do is turn on this feature, so go to the appropriate collection. I guess it's 2 more slides, so it's coming up anyway, to answer your question. There's 4 different ways to update that table. And just dynamically add new resources. So that's the thing that ties in along with the Delta discovery. So Delta runs every 5 minutes, this guy runs every 5 minutes. And the schedule here is the full schedule. There is no scheduling here, or scheduling, the dynamic addition. Actually, you can go to the registry and change it if you don't want it to be every 5 minutes, but there's no UI to change it.
Does that tie in with the Delta discoveries from AD? Because when you said 5 minutes and 5 minutes, you could really effectively have a 10, 15 minute.
So here are the, right, and you've got a slide on that as well. So initially discovered, so brand new Delta AD discovery would be the first bullet, step 2, provisioned by OSD. So if you're using our OS deployment technology, then when we get the record added in and the process done by OSD, he becomes a client, and then we'll add him in. And scan when we get initial hardware inventory. So the first full report of hardware inventory from the client, we do the fast collection updates as well. And then, I don't know why the 4th bullet is there, because we have no higher versions than ConfigMan 2007 SP2. So there is not going to be an SP3 for ConfigMan 2007. R3 is the end of life for development of ConfigMan 2007. So I guess they're just saying, just in case we ever came up with an SP3. But anyway, if you upgrade your client to a new version, then it will go ahead and do the fast collection update as well. And if you're playing around with Beta 1 of VNext, Beta 1 of VNext has Delta Discovery, but it does not have the dynamic collection evaluation. That's coming in Beta 2. So right now we just find things every 5 minutes. We can't update the collection more quickly right now in Beta 1. Okay, I already showed you the demo on that. So the scenario here is, that didn't come out very well if that template did it. Hopefully you can read through that green. In the middle column, or the left column is the activity, so discovery or collection updates, policies, and so on. The middle column is what you have today in ConfigMgr 2007, and the last column is the R3 add-on. So the scenario is if you went with defaults, which is 24 hours AD discovery, 24-hour collection updates, it could take 2 days, 48 hours before a brand new system was added to a collection. 24 hours before AD discovery would hit him, and another 24 hours before your collection got updated. And now it's going to be within 10 minutes. Because I discovered deltas within 5 minutes, and then I update my collection within 5 minutes. So you've dropped almost 2 days out that cycle of getting that brand new computer for a new employee till it's fully ready for that employee to start utilizing the box. So much, much faster. Policy created, that's all going to be the same. Policy evaluation, we did some things in SP2, if you're not aware, to remove some of the policy delays, the built-in delays we had in prior releases on when policies got capped and then implemented every 2 minutes later on. And also for user policy downloads, there was a 10-minute delay, so we got rid of those, so things are more instantaneous. But the big thing is quicker into the database from discovery and quicker into collections with the dynamically add new resources.
Well, are there slides after the presentation today? Can we get that slide?
Yes, you can. £5 per slide. Not that, per slide. I think I've got 1,500 slides for you today, so.
I'll take one, thanks.
Okay. Because of these changes to Delta Discovery and fast collection updates, we now support in R3 a central site of 300,000 clients in a hierarchy. So we bumped up our scalability by 50% on a central site. It used to be 200,000, now we're 300,000. May not affect any of you guys. Some people it does, however. We do have a handful of customers that exceeded our 200,000 clients in a hierarchy scenario. And so this will help them out. We still have a couple of customers that 300,000 is not enough in a single hierarchy. So they have multiple hierarchies. No other site system or site role supportability numbers change. So still 25K per MP, still the 1,500 to 4,000 clients per DP type stuff, and all those numbers stay the same. A single primary site is still 100,000. Just the central site, roll up of all the clients is 300,000. So a couple of right-click things you can do on collections. You can right-click and add a system to a collection through membership rule, direct membership rule. Scenario being, help desk gets a call from an end user, hey, I need Adobe Reader 9. And so what would happen is help desk would then go to the Adobe Reader 9 collection, right-click, and then type in the computer name, getting added to direct membership role. And then the collection would user would do policy retrieval and then get the software. So much easier to do that. You can create a new collection directly from a box if you want to. You can remove a system from a collection. Too many people do a delete and they delete the collection instead of delete the resource out of the collection. So this is helping to hopefully help remove that, deleting the all systems collection. And then add resources. It's a wizard that allows you through dialog find systems and add them in by attributes. And I'll show you that in a second here.
Can you do a user-based direct rule as well by doing that right-click add to collection?
I've never tried that. We'll look here in a second. So manage collection membership is the new menu option. And then you just add, here's a picture of the wizard, and we'll look and see here momentarily. I've never tried it on I've only ever done systems. So if I take a single computer like client 1, now I right click, I have manage collection membership. I can create a new collection out of client 1 or add them to an existing collection, or add it to a new collection that I already have. And it's again direct membership rules. Or I can go to a collection and add resources. And by default, it's looking at your name attribute. by default it's looking at an hourglass as opposed to a wizard. But there we go. And if I'm not sure, I know the name has, it's got to spell it correctly, client, and there you go. So you got users and so on. Search, and I can go ahead and do a search, and I'll find all the computers that have client in the name, and I can go ahead and multi-select them and click out if I want to create individual direct membership rules for that collection for those 3 boxes. If I go to advanced, I can go ahead and not just search by name, but I can search by all the normal discovery properties. So if I want to search by IP address or IP subnet or something, I can go and do that. Or the example here, the default is active. So I can go search there, but yeah, I do have the user reference and so on. So should be able to do that.
Why?
Yep.
Can you actually turn that off as well, so that people can't, that are using the console can't use that?
Nope. Nope. If I have collection attributes and ability to manage collections, I get to use that feature.
But if you did,
Don't install R3 on their
I was
console.
just going to say, if you install R3.
Right. If you don't install R3, then they won't see those right-click capabilities. They won't see the computer, the power management client agent. They won't see the deltas. They won't see the direct membership. Oh, I didn't show you that, did I? Didn't show you the membership rules and the dynamic add new resources. There's a checkbox there. And again, if you want to change the schedule, you have to go to the registry and change it.
Wally, from within the collection, can you sort of like do the multiple select?
No. No, the only multi-select is from the add resources wizard. Yeah. So we didn't have any new capabilities there. Okay, I'm already 3 minutes late, so I got to cruise through these last couple of slides so you guys can get some lunch. And hopefully not hearing my stomach growl either. While I'm talking. So pre-stage media. What this scenario is I have a standard OEM that I work with. And again, in my case, my laptop's Dell, so I'll refer to Dell. And I get a box from them, and it's blank hard drive. And then I have to go and plug it into my wire and do a Pixie boot or OS media, whatever it happens to be, to get that box to the state where I need it to be. And it's a long time before the box, bare metal, into a working client so users can start using it. So the scenario here is, what I do is I take and create what's called a custom media or hybrid WIM. So pre-staged media. What it takes is my boot WIM and my OS WIM file, so my boot media and my Win7 image, and puts it into a special WIM file called a hybrid WIM. I then burn that to media, and I give that to, in this case, Dell. Dell would then dump them in the hard drive for me. I get the box back from Dell. It's already got the boot media there. It's already got the OS WIM file there. I run my path sequence. It's got a new custom action called OEM media that knows not to partition the hard drive, not to format the hard drive. Don't have to download the boot WIM. I don't have to download Win7.WIM because they're already on the hard drive. Just go ahead and run my path sequence to boot up on the boot media, install Win7 or whatever my OS is, and then join my domain, customize things according to my path sequence and so on. So it shortcuts that time frame of preparing the hard drive. And if you ever forgot in a task sequence to select the quick format option, then you're sitting there for a half an hour to an hour waiting for the hard drive to format. All that stuff's already done for you. And then it still takes a long time to download the WIM file, the OS, whatever it happens to be, file down to your hard drive. So it makes it much faster. And so the employee gets his new computer much more quickly. Where's my, uh-oh. Well, we may be taking lunch early right now, since my assistant locked up. This happened to me twice last week in Johannesburg, so, okay, and it's never recovered. So what you would do is go to operating system deployment, go to task sequences, and create media, create task sequence media. You had 3 options there. You had boot media, standalone media, and capture media. You now have a 4th option for pre-staged media. So run that wizard. It'll ask you for your boot media, boot.wim. So find your x86 or x64 boot media, find the DP, and then it'll ask you for your OS WIM. So I put in my win7.wim file, and then it goes to the progress bar where it creates this hybrid WIM file out of those 2. You take that and then you give that to your OEM manufacturer. And then I think that was it in the slide deck, but I can't show you anything else in the slide deck after that. And then again, the dynamically, the DCF stuff, it's just documentation that shows you how to go and create queries, and that means collections off of DCM non-compliance data. So then you can go ahead and obviously create a collection, you can target software distribution to it, to put systems back into remediation, or to remediate systems, get them back into compliance. So, questions? R3 is out now, but again, you have to be an SA customer to get it. If you're not a software assurance customer, you could repurchase all your licenses for ConfigMan 2007, which would include R3. So basically, you can repurchase it and get the R3 benefit. But some very, very high percentage of our customers are SA, so they didn't figure that would be a big deal. But it is available now. I've been told by numerous people it's up on the volume license site, so you should be able to download it and get it installed. You just have to be at SP2 throughout your entire enterprise, or any site you want to deploy on anyway. Primary sites, admin consoles, and clients, and secondary sites as well.
DCM, so there's definitely no little right-click on a profile, DCM profile, and baseline and saying to bring a collection on that. It's just a documentation.
Correct. There's no UI in there to help facilitate that. It's documentation on how to go in there and create the query, which looks at the appropriate compliance states. Because it's kind of hard to figure out which values you're looking at, which attributes to get the data that you need. And every time I try it and I show it, I always wind up goofing it up the first time and I have to go back, okay, that was the wrong one of those things to look at. And so just documentation to make it easier for you, but nothing automated. Now I want to show you vNext after lunch. vNext, we have automated remediation. So you don't have to go in there and create collections of stuff, in some cases. But that's a teaser for after lunch, so you want to come back after we break for lunch. So it's that clock says 1:38, but it's really 12:38, I hope. And we're supposed to be back here at 1:15, so that gives you 37 minutes. So it cost you 8 minutes. You guys cost yourselves 8 minutes by asking questions. I had this presentation timed exactly for an hour, and you guys delayed me 8 minutes. So beat up each other. So I guess we're back in here at 1:15.